version on the Collaboratives podcast forum. So for today's discussion, in case you've been living under a rock for the first 2 weeks of February, and with the weather that most of us are dealing with, Scott excluded in this conversation, you've got a good excuse. But if you haven't noticed, Social Survey is now the new experience.com. And just 2 weeks ago, we had a pair of new experience.com rock star additions to the team. Both Brittany Hodak and Kristen Messerly joined me on a TMC Tech Talk episode, kind of talking about, not only announcing the new brand, but really teasing out the evolution of the platform and the expanded functionality behind it. And so kind of with that framing, got Scott here today, really to spend some time showcasing for us the new layout of the platform, some of the key bells and whistles, and really how lenders, existing clients and hopefully future clients of Experience can kind of learn how to leverage them more efficiently within their loan manufacturing process, which is all built around, really end-to-end experiences. So before we get there, to the demonstration portion, Scott, I'd love it if you could kick off this discussion just by kind of bringing our attendees up to speed, really on some of all the exciting news that you've got going on from experience.com, and maybe a little bit of the why behind the new platform rollout.
All right, so a lot there. Thanks for the introduction here, Tom. You guys are it's one of our favorite partnerships by a long shot. We've loved the relationship. The members are great to us. You did let the cat out of the bag that Kristen Messerly and Brittany Hodak are here, which has everybody on this call probably thinking, then why is Scott doing this call? I asked the same question earlier today. I was like, people would rather hear from you, Kristen. You need to go do this call. But we're so excited to have those two on the team. They are, I pinch myself for a lot of things that's going on here, and those two are one of them. Tom, how many?
Yourself short, though. I mean,
Yeah,
going back, you've always been known to our members as kind of the face of the organization. You and Craig Pollock, just through what, the 4+ years of our
I'm sorry about that. We're gonna get that fixed, though. So, what's the penetration now? Are we at half yet?
Well, if we would slow down on adding new members, probably would be over that. I think last time I checked, it was right about 70 of our 219 members currently as clients.
Wow, okay.
That number is only poised to continue to jump.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, so it's been a great partnership. We got a lot of great TMC partners. And so how did we get here? And why did we give up on that great Social Survey name? It breaks my heart that Social Survey is gone, but I pinch myself that we have experience.com. So quick evolution story. Our customers are drivers of our platform. What you're going to see today is literally because we partner with our customers and listen. And so we have a summit that we do called the Create Wow Summit. TMC is usually there every year. And we have hundreds of folks that come together. And my favorite sessions at the summit is where all our customers get in a room and figure out what we're building next. They vote, they ideate it. We create a partner advisory board. They sit in the front, they communicate with the whole group. They drive the sessions. There's hours and hours of them because there's so much more to do always with the way the platform works. To give you an example, it's why can't we survey real estate agents automatically if it's in the LOS? Well, we probably can. Well, then somebody else would say, but wait a minute, what if we don't want to bug realtors more than once every blank? And maybe some loan officers wouldn't want to survey their realtors. And this is how these things have always gotten built. And so with the twice a year partner advisory board and with the once a year summit, and then we also do this white glove service that we call Create Wow, and it's a requirement that all of our customers see continual improvement over time. And so that's one of those things where we always try to hit the mark, and that demands that we are partners with you and always know your business. So I say all that to say this thing continues to evolve, and we are so lucky to have just started mortgage. because when our competitors started in sort of small business, right, or location-based CX motions, ours were really using voice of customer to help mortgage companies. Now that created massive complexities. We had to map to a loan officer and a loan officer's location and a loan officer's DBA or brand, because we're still basically came from a lot of net branch ideas in mortgage, and then all this compliance that comes in causes us to make sure that we're managing complaint resolution in the system. And then anytime we market something, we have a copy of it, and all this has to go up to the company. What that means is mortgage is complicated. And we started in mortgage. And because we started in mortgage, we built a complicated thing. And that complicated thing turned out to be a unique advantage for everything we did and how we turned into what we've turned into. We started literally, let's do some surveys, share them on social and call it social survey. But we had to do it with this massive hierarchical organizational infrastructure that no one had ever done it before like that. And so because of that, we kept evolving. We kept challenging it to do more things. We kept challenging it to drive behavior. We kept adding gamification and adding reporting and adding benchmarking, adding outcomes and adding connections and opening up more APIs for consumption. And it got really cool. And we decided that we, at some point, with all of those insights, that we needed to build this thing anew with what we knew and what the limitations that it had. It's still the best platform in the business, our version 1, but version 2 is a whole new thing for a lot of reasons. And so that's a lot of the buildup. And then about a year ago, we decided this thing can't be called social survey. And so we said, what are we going to call this thing? And so we kept doing these panels and kept having this conversation. And we said, you know what? We'd love it if the name could be the category. I mean, this is a $1 trillion category, 508 billion spent last year, experience. And so we tried to buy that name, and the company didn't want to sell it. They wanted $8 million for experience.com. We're like, okay, they're just saying they don't want to sell it. But I did think about buying it even at that price, right? Because it's just the perfect name. Well, fast forward to Q4, we decided to go with Voce. I don't think I've shared this particular story with anyone, Tom. So we decided to go with Voce because it's Italian for voice, and it's VOCE, voice of customer experience, voice of customer and employee, voice of customer engaged, right? There's so many great ways to use that name. So we started a rebranding exercise for this new platform around Voce. And then Rebecca calls me the last week in December and says, hey, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. The company that owns experience.com is wanting to divest it now. They've hired a firm and they'll let it go for blank, right? Still an insanely high number. But I thought about it and I said for about a half a second, and I was like, yeah, buy it. She goes, we're halfway through a rebranding, and do you want to think about it for a second? And I'm like, this platform has to have the best name in the business. And so she said, okay. And then I called marketing, and after they had a heart attack, we decided that they loved it too. And so we all pinch ourselves. We are experience.com. And when you see what we've built here, you're going to understand why it had to be experience.com. So long story, long backstory. We've really enjoyed our partnership with you, Tom. We love this partnership. We love our partnership with the mortgage industry. We've expanded it so it works for every enterprise, and I'll show you some of that. But it works even better for mortgage companies in every division.
Well,
so
just imagine too the butchering from a client base of going with Voce.
How do you spell that? We had to build, right. We had already started into do we put the little hyphen, a little thing above the letter? Do we buy VOCHAY and VOCH? Right? This is a mess. But we had all gotten our hearts and minds wrapped around Voce because we couldn't get experience. Mm. And so she's like, wait, you want to think about it for a second? And I said, I did buy it.
I think you made the right call.
Yeah. Oh man, we're so excited about it. All right. If it's okay, I'm just going to spend 10 minutes showing people what we've built.
Yeah,
If I do
please.
that now.
Absolutely.
All right. So one of the limitations from our first platform was it was a single workflow engine. It was powerful, right? You close a transaction, we survey a customer, we send the survey to the borrower, the co-borrower, the real estate agent. We ask 3 or 4 questions about a loan officer and about a brand. We then if they're upset, we escalate it, apologize, escalate it to a manager. Or to customer care. If they're happy, then we share it on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and your website and our website and Cooler, the mortgage coach and MBS Highway and and Realtor.com and Movado and Homes and everywhere, right? Your website and widgets and everywhere. And so it was a very powerful tool for brand and for growing your business and for social proof and for SEO and for complaint resolution and for data-driven decisions. Fantastic tool, but it was post-close, and you had to log in to that one and build that one account. And people kept saying, I mean, we have customers that use us for 12 that have 12 different sets of logins for 12 different journey moments, right? And that was one of the limitations. We just could not, we didn't have the way for a Wells Fargo to have their tellers and their loan officers and their servicing group and their wholesale group and right, all in one organizational login. Now we have companies that can come into our system, and let's say this is, North Pacific Mortgage, and they can put distributed retail group and their call center and their employee, their HR team and their servicing center and their resolution team and their wholesale group all into one. And so first thing we did was we said, let's figure out what all the things you need to do with voice of customer, and let's give you the ability to do it across the board. If you want to do an employee well check and you want to ask your employees, how's your experience in recruiting? How was your experience in training? How's your 1 year look? How's your 2 year look? How's your 3 year look? You want to connect that to your directory so you never have to do anything and it just works. You want to do pulse surveys, and then you want to thread, even in an anonymous setting, thread the lifetime of an employee together to get a true life cycle management of an employee, and then rank and reward department heads and look for microcultures, right? You couldn't do that in our other system. Couldn't do any of that in our other system. And so we built that. And the way we think about it is the first thing we do is we think about it from the filter of your organization. Now we could sit down and we could think about each part of your business and what you're trying to drive, right? If you want more one-call resolutions in your call center, we focus on that. And if you want that to escalate to team leaders, if you want that also to go onto social, if you want it to go into data and benchmarking, right? You couldn't do that before. Now, let's talk about distributed retail, which has been our primary forever. When we log into distributed retail, we can give your head of distributed retail or your marketing POC or whoever it is that we're working with their own account, while you as an organizational manager have the whole thing, right? We would come in and say, instead of your entire hierarchy, loan officers reporting to, and if you have a call center, we can do it completely different. If you have handoffs in the process to a processor, a loan officer to a processor to a closer, whatever it is, we can respect every part of that. Loan officers report to locations or teams, to DBA sometimes, or regions or company or any infrastructure or any hierarchy you have. If you want to set permissions at any level, we can now respect that. It's really important that we set up your hierarchy and think about the outcomes we're trying to drive at each level. And then it's the moments. Let's send a survey to people mid-process and ask them how let's say on the approval trigger. How's it going so far? If they cancel, that costs us money. That costs us hedging, lock issue. That's hedging and lock costs. So let's send a survey and find out why. Escalate that to the right people so that we can retain some of those customers. Figure out what motions we could improve so we don't lose customers at approval that are approved and that are locked. Let's send one survey to the purchasers. Let's send one survey to refinances. Let's send a completely different survey to realtor partners or title partners. I like the long form operational survey. If that's it's not my story, but if that's your story, then let's send 10% of our customers that long form operational story you love. We can build those surveys at any moment based on any trigger and connect to any data feed, completely open APIs. Let's build a survey. Every question type, conditional logic, skip logic, multi-conditional logic. Let's drag in a name. How was your experience with Joe Stevens, with your loan officer, Joe Stevens? How was your documentation process with your processor, Janet Fredericks? Okay, and let's build it and let's view it as we're building it. Let's see what we've built. Set up different workflows for every survey motion. Let's send this survey to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, our company website, and to Google My Business for the local location. Let's send this survey. Let's not share. This is a canceled loan survey. We're not going to do any social with that. Workflows and escalations and management at the actual campaign level based on the moment. From moments, we go to analytics. You can see analytics in the aggregate. You can see analytics at every campaign level. You can see rankings and benchmarking and even respond to reviews at every level. So you have benchmarking and logins and dashboards for every user, and benchmarking at the loan officer and the branch and the region and whatever tiers you set up. And so we start with org, then we go to hierarchy, and then we figure out the moments and the behaviors that you're trying to drive, and then it goes to analytics. And if that's not enough analytics, go into our App Exchange and connect to Tableau or Domo or Power BI. We'll map your data in there. And then we move to behaviors. If you have a call center that you want more one-call resolutions, we'll map that as a part of the scoring algorithm. We can map it back to your employee's payroll for you. Right? Figure out what are the behaviors that would power improvement. Now, you're probably not going to map behavior. You're not going to map loan officers' scores to payroll, but you're certainly going to see the loan officers get really excited about winning your annual customer sat awards. And so we can build an algorithm that they're going to say, what's your completion rate? What's your sentiment score on this question, and this question? And that's behavior. And then finally does its outcomes. The thing I've just shown you is sort of what Qualtrics or Medallia would charge millions to build at an individual basis. But we've built a system that's very agile and iterative, and you can come in and build it and layer it onto any department. But when you add to that this data doesn't just belong in engagement and in some CEO's report and driving behavior. It does belong there, but it doesn't just belong there. It also belongs on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. It belongs on 100 different websites out there that we call listings. It belongs on your website. It belongs on Google for that business. These are all automated workflows that we build. And so you might have Yext for listings. You can keep Yext, or you can come in here and we'll just automate it for you. You might want to manage your reviews across lots of different platforms, right? Just come into your platform. We'll pull in every review from all your locations, from Facebook and Google and from our site. We can even pull in Zillow reviews, and then you can sit here and you can, remember we have permissions. So you can literally set it up so Nigel here can reply to everything over 4 stars. And then you have a customer care person whose job it is to reply to everything under 4 stars. So we don't have Nigel out there arguing with the customer on Google. And so we've built it so that it's all in one place. right? Look at it, the system even catches when somebody uses terms, and it actually will flag those and you can unflag them. So whether it's listings for people, listings for locations, whether it's websites, we have all three APIs, profiles APIs, listings APIs, reviews APIs that you can use to build your own websites. Whether it's sites, we just bought a chat company, so there's going to be AI enabled chat that you can deploy everywhere. Listings, chat, sites, social media monitoring, reviews management, profile pages for your folks. Those are outcomes to us, right? And then extending the platform to your favorite partners, the mortgage coaches and the MBS highways of the world. Extending the platform to all your favorite partners for us, it's just an API. You see, we have a different method. This is not about us building experience.com profile. This is about us being sort of a middleware for you to power your entire business with voice of customer. And so that is our new platform, Tom.
I already have some questions lined up myself just from what you've displayed right there, but just a quick reminder to our attendees, any questions that you have for Scott based on what you've seen within the new experience.com platform, go ahead and populate those in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to verbalize those on your behalf. As I'm looking here, a couple questions I've got for you. So you mentioned the chat functionality. Is that meant to be more, kind of internal based between different team members that you have involved in kind of the feedback coming throughout the process, or can that be, involving, I guess, of say, a
So
client?
we are mostly a voice of customer platform,
Okay.
right? So what we've bought is an AI enabled chat that will allow you to connect like to Messenger and SMS and WhatsApp and Slack, and allow you to take a widget and put it everywhere on your websites, put live chat on your websites and on our profile pages and on WordPress and on everywhere, right? And it'll deploy it through the entire hierarchy. So at the top, no, I don't think anyone's ever done anything like this, because I don't think anyone's ever built chat for a hierarchy, right? So you'll be able to deploy it, and if somebody wants to know where to send a payment, it can know, you can teach it to answer those questions, and it'll learn how to answer those questions. If it's a ticket, it can create a ticket. If it's a lead, it can create a lead. If someone's just trying to interact with a loan officer, it should be able to connect them. But then we'll aggregate all that chat data at the corporate level and give you insights on that chat data. So it's another, not only is it powering your communication with your customer and your ability to create quality communication and to control out of communication, it's also powering analytics and data-driven decisions at another level, right? It's not just because we have social signals now, we have voice of customer from survey signals, and now we add chat signals and messenger signals, and we pull all this together and we get some pretty magical data sets.
Yeah, I'll say just through kind of the direct open APIs and, like you mentioned, kind of widgets too, to be able to leverage that throughout, all your kind of customer facing tools where you can elicit that feedback. And am I assuming correctly, it's a little bit of machine learning, if you will, kind of applied as well? Kind of learning based off of common feedback or common questions that are, chat inputs that may come in, or am I thinking a little ahead of the game here?
There's three ways that you can manage chat, right? There's one that's a suggestion, which isn't really smart, but it's very easy to manage, because if you know the 3 or 4 things most customers want when they come in, you can say, are you looking for this, or this, or other, right? 2, you can teach it, right? If then kind of things, where if someone's looking for this, answer it like this, right? And then give them the opportunity to go forward. And 3, it can learn, right? And so all 3 in our world.
Perfect.
So
And I'm
the other thing
assuming
that you mentioned is open APIs. This is
yeah,
one thing that blows my mind. And I'm so glad that everybody gets this, that all of my competitors get this wrong, right? This idea that if you have a Trustpilot profile page, that you can put those reviews from your customers on your website, but you got a link to Trustpilot. That's not just Trustpilot. That's a lot of my competitors. And it's like, what are you doing? Right? Customers should never link away from their customers, away from their sites. That's directionally incorrect. Every part of your program should be thought through with, how do I squeeze all the value out of this? I want you to think about CX like a fruit. In the old way, long form surveys to stare at them and make data-driven decisions is like squeezing that fruit and getting about 10% of the juice. Our job as marketers and CX leaders and operational leaders and production leaders is to figure out how to power outcomes for our business units, for our groups, right? We got to squeeze the rest of the, we got to figure out, and we have to continue to squeeze and say, what else can we do? And how else can we squeeze it to get value, right? How do we drive better customer experiences? How do we drive better brand outcomes? How do we drive more how do we get customers through the top end of the funnel at a higher rate? How do we use the data to power our business? That's got to be our job. That's always the focus that we take when we think about this thing is by powering your business, it's always helped our business.
well, and that's what I think so unique through the platform. And when I had Kristen and Brittany on a couple weeks back, they spoke directly to this. You know, you think of the the original social survey platform, and like you mentioned earlier, it's all about soliciting that feedback post close, but taking this new platform and being able to solicit that feedback anywhere in the loan process, to examine and create not only feedback but data sets for examining your internal processes and maybe where there's some deficiencies that take place, whether it's in the customer communication or just time gaps in really the manufacturing specific to mortgage of a loan, and being able to input different feedback from I guess a survey based format into those maybe areas of opportunity, to really bring back in some discernible feedback and data as to how to better power your operation and create efficiencies or better efficiencies throughout the process. To your point, not just getting that on the back end, where maybe the initial opportunity has passed to create a better experience.
It's interesting. So we have lots of customers that have more than one channel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? More than one department, more than one need.
Right.
And we find that while we're a lot alike, we're also very different as companies. And so one of the things that takes a minute for us, and one of the reasons that we want to really dig into your business is one of the first things we do is like sit down with your team and think about the journey moments, right? About your org and about those moments and about who reports to who. And then what are all the outcomes? And we really want to dig in at every channel, at every opportunity level, at every, right? We want to think about your business very differently than we thought about it in version 1. We want to think about who reports to them. Like if you have a call center, what are the problems that they solve most often? How are those problems attributed? What are those trouble groups? How are they grouped? How are they attributed in your data? How do they filter? Who handles the online stuff? Who handles the emails? Who handles these call types? What are the behaviors you'd like? What are the outcomes you'd like to drive from those calls? I mean, there's so much to think about, but it's very personal. It's very unique for every business. And so we don't want to just, we're not in a position anymore where we say, you should do this. We literally know on the back end, on the closing, what really works. But everywhere else, we got to dig into your business, understand your business, understand what are the behaviors, what are the analytics we want to drive, what are the measurement moments we want to bring them in, and then what are the business outcomes we're trying to drive beyond the analytics. Sorry, lots of words.
No, and I mean, like, that's
Very
why I'm so
personal.
impressed with the platform. Like, we talked briefly before going live about being purposely methodical with a client rollout on this new platform, and everything that you've kind of spoke to and displayed for us explains the why behind that, which I think is so unique about experience, is that, it's not just, hey, let's get you signed up and go. It's really driving next level thought, to your point, about, what behaviors do you want to drive from this experience? How are you looking
It's
to
funny.
engage?
This is hard.
Yeah.
This is really hard. If you, if it, I would encourage you to be careful before you take this on as a core value, because because when you start answering every question through that filter, it gets really difficult, right? You have to say, like, think about us. We're moving. I mean, you guys have seen other platforms rebuild recently, some of these LOSs, and it's taken 3 years and one delay after another because it's hard. And then you have to move customers, carry them across to a new system, new training, new product marketing, new, right? And when something that they've, like a lot of our customers for this post closing, they just don't, they just love it so much. They're like, can we just keep version 1? When they see it, they want version 2, but literally carrying people, even our existing customers, and take them, we're going to take each of our existing customers through the same process I just described to you to make sure that they get more value than ever as well. So it's very personal. It's very hard. It's not hard. I mean, it's magical once you push go, right? But to try to what am I doing? What kind of an idiot am I? Change my brand, release a new platform, hire a bunch of people. Yeah, it's and then trying to move 300 customers. We're doing it. We have a great team. We have a great group of leaders. We're doing it, and people are loving it. So, and we're really excited about the future here.
Well, and you create clients for life too when you're
Mm.
that heavily invested in not just the short-term outcomes that they can experience, but creating a change agent, if you will, and kind of the thought process on how they approach leveraging all of what you're bringing to the table through this platform. I mean, it can be really transformative for their business if putting the time investment into how do I get the most out of this experience.
It's funny. It's funny. We have you know how the factories do the how many days since an accident or
Mhm.
since an injury. We sort of have the how many days since a lost logo, right? Um, sometimes we had one company last year go out of business that was in the travel, and because of COVID, and I hated that, but we're going to pick up a couple other companies where all their people went. Um, but yeah, we're partners. Nothing makes me sicker to my stomach than when somebody treats us like a vendor or feels like we're a vendor. I mean, this is. I mean, we don't lose customers, and if we do, we make it right. If there's ever any problem on our side, we haven't. I think last quarter we had growth in users and expansion at 6.7% of our total in last quarter, and we had 0 lost logos. These are partners. These are. You're right. This is customer for life is everything for us.
So 2 questions I've got before we wrap today. One, is Create Wow coming back for this fall?
You know what? I don't know. It's getting big, right? Things are getting big. We're in mortgage and real estate and insurance, and now we're working on hospitality and healthcare, and and I can't wait to see how it evolves. And we're trying to figure out how do we segment, because we got to keep our mortgage, the OGs, and we got to make sure that they still get the treatment that they deserve, because that's where we started. And then you have COVID, and is this gonna be virtual, which I hate. I love squeezing people's necks. I can't stand this. I can't stand this environment we're in. But it will be here in some form. But I want it to be, I think I want it to grow into a 50,000 user conference where we focus on all things experience. I mean, when you think about our app exchange, by the end of the day here, we're going to have 1,000 different companies that'll be in that exact app exchange. And so, so that's 1,000 opportunities to get more people into the conversation and into that kind of a setting. So it's going to get big. Our conference is going to get really big. What will it be this year? I don't have an answer. I wish I did.
I know
Not yet.
a lot of moving parts out there
There's a lot of my
globally,
kids
not
are just
just,
now going
under
back to
your
school,
umbrella.
and they're only going back to school for 2 hours twice a week. So yeah.
I hear you.
What was your second question?
Who should the collaborative members who aren't currently partnering with experience.com be reaching out to learn more information or to kind of have a one-on-one consultation?
I would call Kristen, right? That's the person who's going to get it done for you quickly. I mean, she is such a rock star. You should see her planning. It's like a whole nother level with Kristen. She's definitely an entrepreneur. So I would reach out to Kristen. It's Kristen at experience.com, I think. What do you have it?
I
Let me
do, and so we'll be populating that for our attendees too on the follow-up messaging, giving you Kristen's direct contact information for any questions, or if you want to dig further into the new experience.com and how to leverage it for your organization. And right on cue, Kristen just dropped her information in the chat. Thank you, Kristen. That was not pre-planned. Speaking of other chat messaging too, I did drop in a couple resource links that I really enjoyed. A recording for the YouTube video from a prior Tech Talk conversation with both Kristen and Brittany Hodak. I currently encourage you to check it out. And also a great resource I found from the experience.com website, really a sample plan out there for any lender, whether you're currently a client or not, on how to maximize and leverage your internal customer experience processes with a great kind of sample plan that the experience.com team is provided free of charge for your benefit. So
all right.
I guess on that note, Scott, I don't have any other questions in the queue. I give you the floor briefly if there's any final thoughts that you want to impart on attendees today before we call it a wrap.
No, we'd love to try to keep up with you guys. So it sounds like you're growing so fast that we need to find a way to get the word out more quickly. So I'm sure that Kristen will be building a plan in partnership with you, Tom. I think I'm leaving you guys in good hands, but while Kristen will be at your conferences going forward, I still want an invite. I still love to come.
Goes without saying.
Yeah. So
Fellow Buckeye,
yeah,
happily to do so. And it's our plan too, God willing, get back to person this September. And it'd be great to have Kristen.
I think my first was Denver.
Yeah, back in 2016. That was my first TMC as well.
Yeah, I think it was Denver. Yep. All right, guys. Hey, thank you everyone for giving me 40 minutes of your life here. I really appreciate it.
Well, Scott, thank you for taking the time out to showcase the platform for us, and excited to see more of what's coming down the line from the team, and a lot more coming in 2021 from TMC and experience.com. So stay tuned, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.